Landed in Atlanta, just came from DC, and now I have a tight connection to Buenos Aires in Argentina. And then from there I'm gonna go to Mendoza and then see Michaela. As part of our training, we do these breath exercises where we bring the oxygen levels down in our blood by a certain way of breathing. And at some point we hold our breath and do some exercises that builds red blood cells and will hopefully help us at the high altitude of Aconcagua to start.
Hola from Vallecitos in Argentina. I'm Dr. Michaela Musilova, and behind the camera is my life and adventure partner, Cameron Kroll. We're about to start our second expedition as part of the Astro 7 Summits project. The goal of the project is to climb the tallest mountain on each continent while performing a range of scientific research, educational and outreach activities. Our first expedition as part of this project took place in 2022 when we successfully climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. During that expedition, we also performed a range of scientific and educational activities, and we even filmed our first documentary called Hakuna Matata Kilimanjaro. Over the last year, we've been trying to share experiences from that expedition. We've also been training in a range of environments. We completed an ice climbing course, and we even got engaged on the summit of Mount El Dorado.
On me, and I'm going to start.
Thank you for joining us on this expedition, which is to climb Aconcagua, the tallest mountain in South America.
We use the liner plus this.
Sí, sí. Yeah, looks nice.
Muy bien.
Hi everyone, we're at Punta de Vacas where we're starting our expedition to Aconcagua. We'll be going through this valley for the next couple of days until we will eventually make it to base camp. It's really exciting. We're about to start. At this point, I just want to get going. I'm kind of excited, nervous, but I'm sure once we're going to be walking through the mountains, I'll just be enjoying the nature and kind of get fully immersed in it, and I'm sure Cameron will feel the same as well. So come and join us. Michaela, hi.
Dale, va.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Hey everyone, we just made it to our first approach camp. As you can see here behind me and around me.
The respect for the mountain is the most important.
Yes.
Because the people maybe in your mind, oh, I need the climb, I need the summit, but the most important is the mountain, no?
Did you have anything crazy happen here in Aconcagua area with the mules? Maybe some incident or adventure or anything that you experienced?
And some people who he had to rescue with the mule because some broken legs. Many stories in 25 years.
Yeah. In terms of the research, we're working with NASA and multiple institutions around the world, for example, some in Slovakia, Denmark, and Switzerland, to collect samples or research data for them to analyze. For the educational and outreach activities, we're also working with diverse organizations and schools worldwide to allow young people to get involved in our STEM research and different activities. There she is, there's Aconcagua. She's the boss, as our guide Agustin said. So at the end of day 2 of our trek, we finally get to see her and have our destination in sight. Can't wait. We just made it to our second camp as part of our Aconcagua expedition. Today was similar to yesterday's trek, where it was around 15 kilometers. Today was a little bit longer. We continued to trek through the Bacchus Valley along the Bacchus River. We had to cross the river a few times, kind of like yesterday, and in some situations it was a little bit precarious, but luckily all was good. No one got hurt or wet. We're now at an elevation of about 3,250 meters, so we've increased our elevation a lot since we started yesterday. The real increase is going to happen tomorrow, day 3, when we're going to head over to the base camp for Aconcagua. What do you like about it so much?
Well, the tranquility, the calm, really the people that come here are always so nice.
Last night there was discussion about maybe jumping over this river, but it's a little wide, as you can see, so instead we took the mules instead.
We just crossed a river this morning to start our day 3. It was exciting. Luckily we had a mule taxi service, as Cameron called it, to help us get over that river. And as we crossed it, I noticed these beautiful formations up there. If you notice behind me on the hill over there, you see these stripes of green, red and green and other colors. And that's basically looking at a geology history book. When we look at that as geologists, we can tell a lot about what probably happened in this environment many millions of years ago. So for instance, the green layers indicate low oxygen environment, so probably this used to be someplace covered with a lot of water, maybe a big lake or even an ocean, whereas the red layer above the green layer indicates an environment that was exposed to a lot of oxygen, so a very dry environment like we have here. And above that you see yet another green layer, so you can imagine millions of years ago you would have a huge change in environments here. This used to be covered in water, then it was dry, water again, and we can tell all that just by looking at those colors on the rock. When we look at the sample itself, we can see a lot of minerals in it. So it means they probably had a long time to form, and that indicates that it was probably a volcanic igneous environment. Lava was still molten, probably underground for a little bit, and it had lots of time for these nice big crystals to form. And then perhaps during an eruption, it got lifted to the surface, but we also know there was a lot of tectonic movement here. And so that got to move a lot of rocks that were beneath the ground on top of the ground, and that's probably why we can see it all here.
So I can tell that it is an igneous rock.
Igneous rock,
Igneous
yes.
rock.
Igneous weathered rock, yeah.
Okay.
Hola!
You have to go straight to the clouds right now, and then make a long traverse by the right side. That is Camp 2 or Camp 3, Guanacos Camp 3.
Okay.
And then you have to go and make a long traverse to Camp 3, but we can't see from
Yeah,
here.
so it's basically behind the mountain?
Yeah.
Okay, and then it's all the way to the summit. Yesterday was kind of manageable, though we had to like shield ourselves from the dust and things like that the wind was carrying. But even our tent was almost blown away when they were trying to build it. But today the wind has gotten even crazier. And you can see behind me, the toilet we're using here in base camp got knocked over by these winds. And actually our tent had to be completely rebuilt with lots and lots of rocks put all around it, so it won't get blown away. So it's pretty crazy, and we're not sure what that means for the rest of our expedition, but at this point we can only hope that the winds will die down a bit and allow us to continue up the mountain, which is there behind me. Here we're probably standing at the end of what used to be a big glacier somewhere above us, and the glacier had pushed all of this material, these rocks and sediment and all that, in front of itself. But now this glacier no longer exists and has receded probably, and we only see some small glaciers up on Aconcagua above us. So I will collect some samples for my NASA collaboration, as it's a different type of material that I've been sampling so far. And I'm really curious to see what it is made up of, which we won't find out until we do the analyses, but it will tell us a lot about what the rock is made up of further high above us. Curious to see how it goes, and I'm gonna collect my sample now. We have the biggest kind of area of ice we've encountered so far on our expedition. So I was going to check the ice to see if there might be some ice algae or some other microbes potentially hiding in it that we could sample. Otherwise, we're more likely to probably find some extremophiles like that further up the mountain when we hopefully get up there tomorrow or over the next few days. And so what kind of work do you normally do here in the base camp?
So we check all the heartbeat, the oxygen, the blood pressure, if they have symptoms. So we have some like checkpoints, and if the people don't have this checkpoint, we recommend some stay one more day, drink more water, don't eat some food.
And what happens when they're okay in base camp, but then in the higher camps there are problems? What are you supposed to do?
If we see that we can wait there, we just wait and maybe gave him some treatment. But if it doesn't result, we try to evacuate him.
You have to listen to your body. It's very important. A lot of people don't listen to their body because they want to get to the summit. That is very common too.
Tomorrow, day 5, we're meant to start a carry to our first camp as part of the actual climb up Aconcagua. And what that means is that we normally carry about half of our load to Camp 1, then we descend down here to base camp, spend another night here, maybe have a rest day, and then the following day, on day 6 or 7, depending on weather conditions, we'll carry the second half of all our items up to Camp 1, sleep there. We're still trying, and we still have a few days where we can kind of move these different carries to different camps around as we need, but eventually we will run out of time. So at this point, we're a little bit stressed out, but hopeful that the winds will change in our favor and we'll be able to get to Camp 1, and after that we have 2 more camps before we can attempt the summit. And in terms of research, we've been actually very productive. Throughout the last 4 days, we were able to collect a number of samples, and we're hoping to collect some more along the way. We're using different types of technologies to monitor what we're doing. For example, some microscopes to study the different extreme organisms that we're looking at and sampling. We will hopefully be able to sample also some extreme organisms that live up on glaciers as we go up the mountain. Again, weather and mountain permitting. So we'll see how that goes, but so far so good. And we're just telling ourselves, worst case, at least we're able to do the science and educational parts of our research, even though we might not make it to the summit. In the end, it is very much in the hands of the mountain and the weather.
First time I came here, how the mountain is was, of course, very different than right now. There are nothing like domes or service that are very wild place more than 20 years ago.
In terms of people, so before you said it was very wild here, so not many people, I guess, would come to the mountain?
No, not many people, and more experienced people that came here.
But now, for example, how many hundreds or thousands of people do you think come here yearly?
Yeah, it's around more than 3,000 per season.
Oh wow. Why did you want to do this work as porters?
First of all, it's kind of like a physical challenge always, and it's all about your limits and all about your body.
Most of us are mountain guys also, and this is a good way to train in the altitude also, and you get paid for it, so it's a good deal.
For me, I guess as a woman, it's a good challenge because this is the first time that the company hire a woman. And now I feel more confidence with the work because this is my 3rd season working.
I'm in love with the mountains. I have always been in love, especially with Aconcagua because I'm from Mendoza, so it's part of my being Aconcagua. So I thought, okay, why should I travel the world before I go to a place where my home is?
It's day 6 and our saga with the crazy winds here continues. Yesterday we were able to climb up to Camp 1 and move over half of our things there despite some really strong winds. They're around 60 kilometers per hour. And we came back down to camp. We thought, okay, things are looking good for the next few days. Hopefully tomorrow, Monday, day 7, we'll be able to actually move completely to Camp 1. The winds are a real challenge here, and they may be a challenge for us to be able to climb Aconcagua as well. Hopefully, if all goes well, tomorrow we'll be able to move over to the higher camps and the wind won't prevent us from summiting a few days later. Fingers crossed. I must say I'm really impressed that we made it here in like 3 hours and 15 minutes, considering we're both carrying about 20 kilograms on our back. We're here, Camp 2.
Nice.
Hey.
Welcome to country.
Do you have any advice for us?
La montaña es magnífica y hay que respetarla ante todo.
She says that the mountain is magnificent and that you have to respect it and to enjoy it, like the way going up.
Y tener cuidado y que lo trate de disfrutar lo más que se pueda al cerro, y si no...
That you take care, that you enjoy the experience, and that you don't have to be sad if you can't reach the summit.
All right, we've had a giant change in plans. The weather has changed and it looks like the only day worth attempting to summit Aconcagua is the 22nd of December, and that's basically in like 36 hours. So it's been very difficult to process that.
Hey. I felt really exhausted. We've had a really hard 3 days of moving from base camp to camp 1, camp 1 to camp 2, and camp 2 to camp 3, back to back to back, and we were moving pretty fast. We were like an hour ahead of the expected times that the guide had predicted us to go. And I guess I didn't really feel that until we tried to go past 6,000 meters and I was just out of breath, and it was just hard to get enough air into me to do the physical exercise.
We made it to Camp 3. We're at approximately 6,000 meters, so higher than Kilimanjaro. And if all goes well, tomorrow we're going to attempt to summit Aconcagua, which is right above us over there. It's only about 1,000 meters above us, but we still expect about an 8-hour journey up towards the summit. And very strong winds. Apparently they'll be 65 kilometers per hour or more, and then probably about half that time to get back down. So it'll be probably a 12-hour day starting early in the morning, probably around 5 a.m. We're now here trying to acclimatize and get as ready as possible, and we can only keep our fingers crossed at this point that the weather, mountain, and our bodies will cooperate. So hopefully see you at the top tomorrow.
Yeah, do you want?
I'm okay with this.
We can have some of mine.
Yeah, I can finish what you don't have.
It's definitely not Michelin star, but
I love the homemade soup.
Cameron, what are you eating?
I think tuna, noodles, peas, and carrots.
Oh, that was all made here in this little tent.
Yeah,
by our guide slash chef.
You have to close your tent very well before leave and put some rocks in the entrance. If not, the tent is gonna be like this.
Well, we have some good and bad news. Good news is we're back in Camp 3, safe and sound. But the bad news is that we didn't summit today. It was because of the weather. The winds were very strong, it was very cold, and not everyone on the team was feeling well enough to do a 12-hour longer day to attempt to summit the mountain. So we decided to call it about a couple of hours into our summit attempt and return back to base camp, where everyone had time to relax and recover and feel better. You know, it would have been a great cherry on top of the cake if we were able to summit, but it's not the end of the world, and we will continue with our mission beyond this during other projects. And do you see, for example, more trash being left behind, or are people really good here at cleaning?
It's more people, more trash. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always the same.
The park has like its ways to deal with trash, but yeah, it can like grab everything.
We clean all that we produce in the altitude. We came down all the garbage and all that made up there.
What about the nature itself? Do you see that it's changing?
It was a huge challenge that we arrived and it was all under snow.
What would you recommend in terms of taking better care of nature for us, for example? What can we do to do better with nature?
The company is starting to move this way too, so they're starting to separate all the trash. The menus are not with all meat as it used to be.
We are now in the Orcones glacier that is close to us, and that's retreated maybe 1 kilometer back from 20 years ago. So is a huge change that we can see very clear. Most of the last season are very, very dry, so it's very difficult to try to find some water or snow on the high camps.
And what about these crazy winds? Have you experienced something like this before?
I think not for so long. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Maybe one day is so strong, but now it's so many
days in a row.
Yeah. This project is really, really cool. Everyone that we talked to was very excited to be involved.
When did you set up this gallery?
2002, 2003.
Oh wow, a long time ago. Okay.
Yeah, really in the first season, I came with the idea to set up an internet station, the gallery. I start to paint. I have enough time. I'm here right now with the tent, with the Guinness World Record.
Oh wow.
I'm painting outside.
Oh okay.
So I'm painting outside. Just a bit camera close to me. Oh, what are you doing? I'm painting.
You said this place from the start was very inspirational for you. Do you still feel that way? And do you still want to continue climbing the mountain, or?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Both.
Both?
Yeah.
Have you summited many times?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So mountaineer and artist.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I love it.
Okay, great. We're at the end of our journey, now in another base camp, and tomorrow we will hike out back to civilization. I don't actually feel any resentment or any sadness that we didn't summit. Actually, I feel really relieved because the weather conditions have been so bad here, really strong winds. Normally the success rate of climbing Aconcagua is between 30 to 35%, and apparently this December it's only been 6%. So it's not unusual that we didn't summit, but most importantly, we didn't summit because we put the health and safety of our team members as a #1 priority, and that's something I'm very proud of.
We had a really good expedition, and compared to Kilimanjaro, it was about twice as long and twice as hard at least. Aside from that, we had a very good amount of science and research that we did, a lot of good outreach activities.
We had a good time together, learned so many things, and were able to perform a lot of research. For instance, we're looking at the different biology of this entire Aconcagua National Park as we traversed it throughout the expedition. One thing that was very interesting is that we found lichen only in the valley that we traversed at the beginning of the expedition, Bacchus Valley, and only in some parts, whereas lichen is usually very resistant and can be in all sorts of extreme environments. It's a symbiotic relationship between fungi and algae or cyanobacteria, and yeah, I've seen them all over the world in the Arctic, Antarctic, and other extreme conditions. So it was very interesting that here, instead of finding lichen at very high altitudes, then we also looked at the geology of this national park and entire environment in collaboration with NASA. There we're looking at specifically the kind of geobiology, geochemistry, and how it's changing now with climate change, but also its implications for looking for life beyond Earth. And on top of that, we were also doing research in the psychology of teams working in extreme environments. So Cameron and I, we were the test rabbits, quote unquote, for that particular study. Every night we would record these video logs of how the day went, what were the challenges, how we overcame them.
There's some rock falling and could be slippery in some places. So.
So there's a huge variety of things we did. We met all sorts of amazing people, and I just have a great feeling about this whole expedition. Nothing bittersweet, no sadness, and if anything, a lot of hope for what awaits us in the future. Thanks for joining us on our adventure. It was definitely surprising in many ways. We learned so much, and I really hope that you learned something as well. And we really hope that you'll follow us along on the rest of our Astro 7 Summits project.